What is going on, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome to another edition of the Tuffy Talk live show, y'all. I know it might be a little bit interesting timing-wise, as typically we have this on Monday nights, but due to the men's basketball game last night, we figured that, we should probably get everybody dialed in for senior night and, and hopefully pull out a big win to keep our small, teeny, tiny, eensy-deensy hopes of NCAA tournament or whatever,
It gone.
It gone unless we go and win the ACC title, which seems very unlikely to win 4 games in a row. But have we seen crazier? I think we've seen crazier, right? We've seen crazier, I'm sure.
We definitely have.
So anyway, though, but with that being said, if you've been a part of the show before, first of all, like Razor, Michelle already in the comment section, love to see it. Give us your thoughts, questions, concerns. Anything that you got, put it in the chat, and we will get to it here today. But we got a lot to get to here today. We got myself, Leighton Smith, Lindsay, and Greg DeLeg here with us. And Greg, you got a new baseball shirt there, my man?
I did get a new baseball shirt like about a week ago. Yeah.
Oh, I know. It looks
in preparation for our weekly recording, I guess we'll have here later tonight.
Yep. Tonight, we will be doing a recording where we'll be talking a little bit of, I guess, what have we learned so far about NC State baseball, kind of take a look at now the rest of the season, now that we've kind of had a better idea in terms of what we can expect from this NC State baseball team. And then we'll do a ACC wrestling tournament preview as well, now that we know the seedings that came out just a few hours ago. But with that being said, we're going to start talk about the one topic that everybody, I'm sure, is thinking about right now, and that is a little bit of men's basketball. As unfortunately, NC State basketball was not able to get the job done yesterday, from being down 3 at halftime to just unfortunately just the wheels just absolutely falling off once again. And I think the story of the game really was the offensive rebounding. I mean, we just got absolutely dominated on the board yesterday, which was so frustrating, man. Because I mean, it just really goes back to and I'm Greg, I'm kind of interested in your thoughts on this. That I feel like that we started to kind of figure out maybe around the halfway point of the year, maybe who we are as a team. Where we really relied a lot on our defense. We relied a lot on our will, a lot on our effort, and on our depth. And then throughout kind of the last 3 games, honestly, you saw defense just crapshoot. You saw just what seemed late in the games, like just the willingness to continue just kind of went away. Like, it's just frustrating because I'm still sitting here once again saying now, just again, questioning everything in terms of, all right, did we actually grow? Did we actually, the only thing which I would say is that we started to figure out that DJ Horn was our guy.
Mm-hmm.
We
started on the UVA game at Charlottesville.
Agreed. Yeah. So, so let us know in the comments, y'all, your thoughts, questions about men's basketball. We won't spend necessarily too much time on this, as I think we're all kind of in the consensus that we just got to just let the rest of the season play out, and then just wait to see what Bucor and them do over the next few weeks. It just, I think we're kind of all in the same boat where I think it's a definite obvious that a majority of NC State fans are not happy that there's a sense of apathy right now towards Coach Keats, which, you can argue rightfully so. Yeah, I would definitely say rightfully so.
I mean, they have a right to be.
This season, just unfortunately, there's like, what's the highlight of this season? Like what's like the wow, that moment?
I have my thought, but it's not good.
Clemson,
no,
the Wake Forest game.
No, if you ask most State fans, they're going to tell you the game that Keats got ejected from against Wake Forest.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, Wake Forest. Yeah. So which is, again, it's sad because you don't want to necessarily have that because Keats didn't even coach in 75% of that game. So
that's what I'm saying without saying.
Yeah, exactly. So, but just want to kind of here. Let's just go ahead and bring this one tweet of the week up here. We won't necessarily jump into tweet of the weeks already, but we'll go ahead and use this as kind of a measuring stick here. So, a lovely Duke, Twitter account decided to put together these stats for us, which got to keep in mind though, that it was an interesting thought going into that game last night, that it was kind of one of those games, in my opinion, I was talking to my wife about it, that like either way, I mean, like I wanted to win that game, no doubt about it. Like, don't even question twice. But at the end of the day, if we lost, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, now we have. I feel like it's like now that he's lost, I think it just kind of puts that nail in the coffin a little bit deeper. Now, again, I'm not saying it's close, but I'm saying that the case for Duke Oregon is slowly decreasing. And because one thing you're saying is that if there's one thing that you can rely on Coach Keats on, it's beating Duke at home. I mean, he's 3-1 against Duke at PNC Arena. So you're saying, hey, here you go, Coach Keats, got an opportunity. You've done it 75% of the time before. Do it one more time right now. And if you beat Duke and the guys storming the field in front of Jay Billis, whatever.
Jay Billis,
Jay Billis, then hey, there's maybe your case right there of why we'll give you one more year. But
yeah, I mean, so the last couple of years he's usually split or done pretty well against Carolina and Duke. I think over the last 2 or 3 years it's either a split or getting 2 out of 3 or something like that. And this was the game that you kind of were hanging your hat on, like as to your point, and you just didn't get it done. I mean, you were down 3. You end up losing 15, I think 14, 15, whatever it was. I kind of just became tone deaf to it after a while. And so you haven't beaten your rivals in the triangle. And, if you're not doing that and then not doing any of these other stats, you don't have any 1s or 2s or anything higher than that. But if anyone's listening at home, it's just a recap of the Kevin Keats era. And, so if you're not getting positive numbers on the left-hand side, it's kind of hard to make a case for keeping instead of not keeping.
Yeah. Lindsay, any thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like Greg was saying, like you expect Keats to win some of these games against the rivals. These are games you look forward to, even if the rest of the season isn't necessarily going how you want. We were talking about this 2 weeks ago. Like, okay, if you want to make the tournament, you have to beat either Carolina or Duke. And watching both of those games slip away, especially when up by so much at halftime during the Carolina game, is really frustrating. Especially when, beating Duke at home is something that Keats is known for, something that we kind of hoped for, and that went honestly worse than I had even worried it might. So it's really frustrating. Again, I think all of State fans, or a lot of them, were trying to throw Kevin Keats a bone, see how the end of the season went with Carolina and Duke, and just kind of go from there. But I think dropping both of those in a pretty significant loss was really disappointing.
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately too, it doesn't help your case either when, I mean, I just feel like with this team that they have not been able to when like figure out like, okay, if there's a guy that is red hot right now, we need to focus on that guy. We need to make sure that guy does not continue his hot streak. We need to shut him down. Like, I mean, with Syracuse, I mean, the one guy having 8 3-pointers in the first half alone. You would think after he hits 2 or 3 in a row, Keats might say, hey guys, we need to play tight on this guy. And like that guy is not going to get a single easy, clean shot off from 3. But for some reason, all halfway through the game, you let 8 of them go in and nothing really changed. And then, with Duke yesterday, you had one guy in the second half that started to go off. And it seems like, once again, we just couldn't, just put a lid on him.
Right.
So again, that's just my biggest frustration is that in the last few games, there's obvious cases where coaching, unfortunately, the guy on the opposite bench outcoached our guy. It's simple as that, that's the most frustrating thing. Like, it'd be one thing if you were facing, teams where it's just like, hey, listen, they're just a better team. They were just a better team that day. That one guy was hot. We did everything we could and we just couldn't stop him. And it was a close loss. Like, it is what it is. Like, no, like UNC, we were up by 7. And then we came out, we were shooting over 50% in the first half. And then you come out second half, you shot single-digit percentage from the field. Like,
it's ridiculous.
Again, it's just like halftime is where the coach's money is made. Like that's that's where your money's made, because that's the opportunity. Like, okay, we've seen who's hot right now. We've seen what's going good for us right now. We're seeing what's not going well for us. We need to make adjustments and come out so that way the second half we can take over, and or in the UNC case we can finish this game. You know.
And we've talked about how Keats is a great recruiter, and you can see that. You can see there's talent out there, but if that talent isn't being utilized and isn't translating to success on the court, that's frustrating not only for the guys whose talent is kind of being wasted in that way or who aren't maybe playing up to the potential they should, but it's also, it takes into question, okay, he's a great recruiter, but how much does that matter if you can't win?
Well, I mean, are you a great recruiter if you're not getting the results on the court? I don't know if that makes you a great recruiter. Look, I thought, I think we definitely overachieved with last year's team. Now looking back, you thought that we were as good. Maybe not 1 through 5, but 1 through 10, we were probably better, right? And I think that doesn't really help you. And Michael Tracy had some nice tweets about this. So I don't want to, kind of steal some of his thunder. But we just, other than, DJ Horn, we just never had that consistency. Like DJ Burns would have a nice game, but then he would not be there for the next game. And then you'd have a Casey Morcell. And then, I think what's really hurt us is, Jaden Taylor hasn't been a consistent. He's been great defensively for most of the year, but we didn't get the offensive numbers that we were kind of hoping for on a consistent basis. You had Parker, who showed glimpses in the early part of the season and then kind of just went and vanished for whatever reason. And I don't know, I don't know. That was frustrating. You had nice depth pieces with O'Connell and Middlebrooks and Diarra, but they weren't. I just don't know if this roster was managed properly at the end of the day. That's what I'm trying to say, because you saw glimpses of, wow, this person is really good, and I just don't know if we just didn't match up in the right situations. I'm not a coach. I don't pretend to be a coach, but it just felt like there was pieces there, and it just didn't happen for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's the point. Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, and I was going to say, but I mean, Keats admitted himself that this roster wasn't handled properly. Like he said in the post game after UNC, I think it was after UNC, where he said, "Yeah, we have 2 shooters, and if they're both not hitting, then we're in a struggle bus." And it's like, well, whose fault is that? That's your job, right? That's your job to put together a roster, right? So, and I think honestly too, the one thing that honestly he hasn't mentioned, I think honestly really is the downfall of his team, is not having that stud point guard, that stud quarterback of the basketball team. Yeah,
that was kind of Michael Tracy's point of his whole tweet thread, was that exact point. Go ahead, I'll let you finish your thought, but yeah,
but so I mean, again, and so unfortunately. And it kind of goes back to the NIL thing, is that unfortunately, when you had a guy like Robert Dillingham and you see what he's doing with Kentucky right now, and you're saying to yourself, could he have been the missing piece? I mean, not to necessarily say that would have been the solution, but I mean, you see what he's doing. You see what he's doing in Kentucky, where I mean, he's able to distribute the ball. He's able to shoot the ball, effectively anywhere on the court. Like that's what this team needed. Like we had said, I think Macon pretty much was dead set beginning of the season that Jaden Taylor is going to be that guy for us at the point guard position. He's not. He was not a point guard at all for a season. Like distributing the ball, that was not really his game this season. So, and Michael O'Connell, he was a good depth piece, but he wasn't effective enough for us to really rely on him. But
yeah, I thought he ran the offense the best, but defensively he just kind of got used and abused at some points, and no fault of his own. That's just not really his strength. I mean, he works hard. All these guys work hard. This isn't a reflection on the players themselves. I mean, they've gone out and worked within the system and done what they're supposed to do. And you have another piece in MJ Rice. We thought, well, that was going to be a difference maker. And unfortunately, through his, mental health issues and any other issues that he's had going forward, that, okay, So we were really counting on things to really like, okay, we need this to really happen in order for it to be a successful season. And, you start adding those things up and there was more negatives than positives, and you're going to get the result that you got.
Yeah. Lindsay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to build off what Greg was saying, the point about how this was a successful, talented roster that just wasn't managed properly. I think that's where I was going with the recruiting thing. In the past, state fans have celebrated Keats for bringing in guys who have a lot of talent. And like Greg was saying, we see that in 1 or 2 games that somebody is like, wow, he's really talented. He could really be something big for NC State. And then we see that is never really highlighted again. And I think that's where a lot of the frustration comes from. Not that the team isn't talented, but that they're not working together in the way that they should, or that the individual talents of different players aren't being highlighted correctly, which, like I said, is disappointing for these guys who are talented and could be a part of a good team. And it's just frustrating to watch as a fan who knows that some of these guys could be performing much better.
Well, yeah, and some of the rotations were weird too, right? Like you would see like guys get into a rhythm and then they get pulled, and it just nothing ever seemed to click. You'd have a guy, get hot in the first half, get 2 fouls, and then he's out of the game, and it was just like, oh, like we just cannot put it together. I was just going through our ACC slate, and we kind of had that fool's goal with 4-1 start, but looking through it, the best we did was win 2 games in a row in the ACC. Like we never put together a 3-game ACC winning streak, and so it was just kind of win 2, lose 1, win 1, lose 2. It was just we never got on a roll, if you will, and just kind of like, okay, like we know who we are. This is our identity, and this is what's going to get us to, an ACC championship or an NCAA appearance, or I don't know. Like at this point, I mean, I would just take NCAA appearances over ACC championships, because it's just, obviously if you get an ACC championship, you get an NCAA appearance, and I know the math's easy on that, but it's like, just show me something, show me some consistency, and I think that's what will ultimately define the Kevin Keats era if he is let go. It's the lack of consistency.
Yeah. To kind of touch on a few comments here. So North Wolf saying, I've been numb to men's basketball for the last 10 years. I love following all the Wolfpack sports that are successful, like wrestling, women's basketball, etc. Yeah, and because that's part of the problem too, is that unfortunately, since we just have not seen the level of success that we saw from 1990 earlier, is that you basically have like basically 30 years of NC State fanhood that has unfortunately created a circumstance where your expectations have greatly decreased, and therefore the amount of fans that are fans of men's basketball has decreased along with it.
Think about this real quick, is assuming we don't make the NCAA tournament. I mean, again, we've already laid out what would need to happen. Right. Yeah. No, agreed. Yeah. We're going to go in the next season, in the 2025 season, and it will have been 10 years since we won an NCAA basketball tournament game.
That's ridiculous.
10 years.
How many? 10 years since we won an NCAA tournament game. Yeah.
The Sweet 16 appearance in 2015.
That's right. That's crazy. Yep. And touching on to Carson saying the best game at PNC all year was the game where Keats got ejected. Let that sink in. Exactly.
And that was a game we didn't lead until the final 3 minutes. Like it was it was an ugly game, and we somehow ended up pulled out. And that's another thing. Like look at the games that we did win, like the Wake Forest game, the Notre Dame game. Like we had to pull those out in the last couple of minutes and seconds. Boston College, I think we had to win in overtime. Those are 3 ACC wins that we had to just scratch and claw just to even get a victory.
Yep. Nope. I 100% agree. And Thomas even adding in, this roster was a land of misfit toys.
It's great. Great quote.
It's a great quote. Great metaphor. I think it's spot on. Again, just improperly used. Nothing wrong with them necessarily in terms of that they, were just not good ambassadors, not good players, not good talents. No, just simply was not handled properly. And I think the biggest thing that you hopefully take away from this, if Keats is given a second opportunity, is that he has to land a big time guy or a stud, a focal point of the team in the transfer portal. Like that is a must. Like you can't have a bunch of really good players and put them together and find consistent success. You just can't.
And the other thing I'll say is he's swapped out his coaching staff. Like it's like he's done the things that quote unquote you have to do to try to, elevate your program, and it's just not worked. Whatever that is, he just hasn't been able to push the right button and get that consistency. I think the assistant coaches he has on staff now are really good. And if he's let go, it's unfortunate that we're going to probably lose all those coaches. And so. And I think that's the other thing. Like, we're not advocating for anyone to be fired. Like, I mean, no one, that's a tough thing to swallow. Like these people are, trying to make a little livelihood. Now they are compensated well, so that's part of the gig, if you will. But at the end of the day, these are human beings trying to, provide for their families. And look,
well, of course, NC State fan will come right back at you, be like, "Well, if we buy him out, he's getting $5 million. So
yeah,
I think he'll be fine."
I get it. I get it. It's more than you and I will make in the next couple of years. And
I would go at it really less from the compensation perspective, but more of that. Like, imagine working your whole career, your whole life for this opportunity to coach at a Power 5 level. And then basically getting a swift kick in the no-go place to say you're just
and the Julius Hodge is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly, the Julius Hodge way. I mean, but basically you're getting it a swift kick saying you're just not meant to be a Power 5 coach. You're just not.
It's a high stakes job. I mean, let's be real. That's why they're compensated the way they are compensated. Right. I see what you're doing, Lindsay, trying to get the pup out of the screen.
Yeah, the dog is like on the bed on the side trying to like crawl around and get in the frame, trying to take advantage of.
Yeah.
But
good.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, like, don't cry for me, Argentina. Like, he's gonna be okay, But again, like I said, we're not saying that he should be I mean, well, yes, look, we'll just I know.
We hate that we're having to say it.
Yes, thank you. That's a much better way of trying to say what I was trying to say.
I sympathize with him again.
Yeah, for sure.
The type of job you do work your whole life for, there's something you build up to. But at the same time, there are only so many Power 5 coaches, and they're in that position for a reason.
It's 56.
Yeah. And if you can't, keep up and you can't compete and bring your program some success and what it needs, then they can find somebody else. Like I do, I feel bad. I know there's something you worked for. This is, somebody's job. But at the same time, if you always have the mentality that you'll just stick with your coach because they've worked for it and that's, their job, then your program will never advance.
Exactly. Well, and I would honestly necessarily put it more in the feel bad because, I mean, he started off his career at NC State with, a little bit of a handicap where he had the NCAA investigation sitting over his head. So really,
but he was compensated for that though too. He was compensated. He got an extra year on his contract. So
true. No, 100%. So again, I don't really want to spend too much more time, but the last thing I'll kind of say on the topic is, that the biggest question in my head is, does Boo Corrigan look at Keats in terms of what he has done since the NCAA investigations have gone away, or does he look at it as his entire career or his entire, accomplishments during his time at NC State, and also to how the fans look at him? Because if you look at it simply by what he has done since the investigations have gone away, then okay, it's not bad. But I mean,
he had an NCAA appearance, I guess, if that's what you're getting at.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, hey, you got a guy in Terquavian Smith. You were able to develop into a name brand for NC State. You were able to pull off some really big wins, some key mark wins, which has been great. But yeah, no, so. It's tough, but again, we'll just wait and see. Just see what we can do against Pitt here this week, and then NCAA tournament. You're probably going to be anywhere between an 8 to 10 seed. So meaning that if you get through probably Florida State, then you're probably going to have to face UNC, who's red hot right now. So yeah, exactly. But. Anyway, though, so with that being said, we'll move on here now to some more positive, shall we? Well, I guess, and I think from
anything more positive than this.
all the comments talking about softball. I think it's time to move on here. But and of course too, here, actually, you know what, Greg, before we fully move on here, let's bring back one fun thing that we got a lot of positive on, and I'll let you share your.
You know what really grinds my gears?
So, Greg, what really grinds your gears, man?
Announcers just, I guess, grading or I don't know. Yeah, just like crapping on NC State. I bet that's probably a better way to say it. Like last night, you had Jay Billis, talking about DJ Burns's weight like ad nauseum. Like I don't know why he was so infatuated with that for whatever reason, and it really sucks because he's a Duke dude, so he's supposed to be calling the game fairly neutral. It just felt like they were just piling on. I think that's a better way to say it. Announcers piling on NC State, whether it's screwing up our name, whether it's openly cheering when the women played a couple weeks ago against Georgia Tech, like that gets on my damn nerves like nobody's business. So that is my grinding gears of the week.
Yep. And then for me, my
really grinds my gears
is really around I mean, first of all, I honestly hate it that Elizabeth Kitley got injured. I really do hate it. And you may say, well, why? Because if Kitley is injured, then I mean that greatly increased your chance of winning AC tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, but for me, it's more because I felt like that with them, we could have with Kitley, we could have beaten them. And now if we beat them in the AC tournament, now there's going to be a humongous asterisk to it. It's like, well, you beat them without Kitley. So, and unfortunately, now that we, since we beat them they beat us twice this year, like, I feel like that we needed that redemption game, and we would have had to face them in the ACC championship game. So what poetic justice would it have been if we had beaten a full strength Virginia Tech for the ACC championship? But now, more than likely, again, we haven't heard anything about Kitley. I'm assuming no news is not good news. And also too, from the videos and from my wife being a physical therapist, she had said, it's probably not great. I mean, definitely less than a 1 week turnaround after an injury like that, and how bruised up her knee is not very likely whatsoever. Like, I hate it. I hate that we won't see her.
Yeah. So I'll caveat that a couple of things. One, they did play us without River Baldwin in the first game, and so they barely beat us at the buzzer. So I will caveat that, but your point is still valid. She was on ACC PM this afternoon, kind of officially accepting her award of Player of the Year, which congrats to her on that. She sounded a little optimistic. Now, I don't know if that's gamesmanship or she really truly is feeling that way. Obviously, you don't want to give your opponent, any, that's not really bulletin board material, but, so she said her rehab was going well. So whatever that means, obviously they're going to keep all that stuff close to the vest, especially when you're trying to prepare for them. It kind of reminded me of the Olivia Munn situation from last year for Notre Dame, where, is she or is she not going to, because it happened right about the same time. So it'll be interesting to see if she is able to go at all. Maybe they hold her out until an ACC championship game. Maybe they just don't even play her just because they're looking at the bigger picture of an NCAA title run instead of an ACC championship. Because
her career in general.
Yeah, for sure. I think regardless of what Virginia Tech does in the tournament, they're probably going to be locked in at a. I would like to say a 2 because the ACC, in my opinion, is the toughest conference in all of women's college basketball, but so they're either going to get a 2 or a 3. Again, you have to see what other conferences teams do in their tournaments, but they're definitely locked into a host, and so you play the bigger end game, and that's the NCAA tournament. So I honestly, unless she's really good to go, I would be really surprised to see her in an ACC tournament.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Lindsay, you got any for me to pull it up? Oh, okay, all right,
Go
cool.
ahead, pull it up.
So Lindsay, what's your
really grinds my gears?
Okay, what grinds my gears is watching the gymnastics team continue to thrive week after week. Didn't lose in the ACC at all. Hasn't lost, period, since January. And our number 21, which is, great. But gymnastics is a sport where I think you see a lot of teams get the benefit of the doubt of being historic, successful programs. And it's really hard to fight your way through those rankings. And I think 21 still feels low. Again, this team literally has not lost since, January 13th. went totally undefeated in conference, is always sweeping the conference with like the ACC specialist of the week, newcomer of the week, gymnast of the week. And I think just isn't getting the full recognition they deserve, which sucks because they're really killing it. They're the best they've been in years. There's probably one of the best gymnastics teams we'll see for a long time. So I'd really like to see them, break the top 20.
So I'll actually give you a little bit of insight in terms of why we're 21, Lindsay, because I actually know exactly why we're 21. But first of all,
because we're not 20th.
Yeah. But shout out to Carson here for bringing up this stat, which is Westmore's undefeated as a 2 seed in the AC tourney. So,
all right, that's a good omen.
Yeah. So gymnastics is actually one of the only college sports where rankings is all determined by math. It's simple math, where basically how it works.
We have another BCS thing. Is that what we're talking about? Another BCS computer ranking bull crap?
Well, so it's literally, and you can actually calculate it at home. It's very simple.
I don't have no fingers and toes.
You can. I believe in you, Greg. So basically what you do is you take your last 6 scores, keeping in mind that at least 3 of those scores have to be away meets. Okay. So meaning that if your last 4 were home games, then you have to get rid of your most recent home game, and you have to go back until you can get 3 away meets. So you need 3 away meets, 3 home meets.
So does an away meet count like when you do like a 3-teamer? Is that counted as an away meet?
So for NC State purposes, as long as you're not competing in Reynolds Coliseum.
Gotcha.
So yeah. And so then you take those 6, and then whichever is your highest score, you get rid of it, and then you average the remaining 5 scores. So that's literally that's what's called NQS, or National Qualifying Score. And so the problem from NC State is we have a couple of early season scores that are like low 196s that we have to still get past. But once we get by that, then we'll continue to go up. But also, it didn't help either that the teams above us, like Georgia, just got a 197.5, and then Auburn, who I think was at 19 or 18, also did really well this weekend as well.
So they're not slipping.
Yeah. There's a ton of big historic programs. Most of them are SECs.
Oh yeah.
But I would, if it's based on math, that's great. I'd love for us to move past those 4. Like our 4 first scores of the season were losses, but one was at a quad meet. So I'd love to see that kind of be brushed out, and because again, they haven't lost since. So I'm glad it's based in math and not bias, but I really would like to see them break that top 20.
Where is the ACC championship at?
Greensboro College.
That's right. So that should count then. So we'll get credit for whatever that score is then.
Yep, and that is March 23rd. Before then, they play a quad meet in Gainesville, which will be on the road, and they play a quad meet at State. They also play a quad meet in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
and that's it.
Yep. So basically, and the one in Gainesville obviously is against Florida, and Florida is the top 3 team in the country right now. Or top 3 group in the country right now. So big opportunity there. But yeah, I mean, I got to give a shout out. Razor saying Emily Shepard is the ace of that team. I just have to remind everybody that now she not only to her name has the most 9.9 scores period in program history. She also has the highest individual score in program history in a single meet with the 39.7, which breaks the previous record by over 0.2 of a point, which is crazy. She also now has the most 9.9 scores on floor in program history, now getting over 50 9.9 scores. And she's also going to be 3-time conference gymnast of the year during her career. And she also has now won either 5 or 6 straight ACC Gymnast of the Week awards as well. So I'm telling you, everybody, that again, before, if you had asked me before the season, I would say that she was well on the way to being the greatest gymnast in state history. Now I can say without a shadow of a doubt, she is the greatest gymnast to ever come to NC State. And you still have 1 more home quad meet. You still have 2 more away quad meets, and then you still have conference championship meet. and nationals to watch this team, specifically Emily Shepard, do her thing. So I can't tell you enough, Wolfpack Nation, to invest. That's one of the biggest things for me. I have been stamping my foot in, which is support gymnastics this year, because this is going to be the greatest gymnastics team that NC State has ever seen so far.
And it's
now,
free, right? It is free to go to, or is it a couple dollars?
It's the $5, it's the $7 a ticket.
$7.
So cheap.
So cheap. Yeah, so cheap.
And it's super exciting to watch. A lot of action. You're seeing 4 teams compete at the same time. So again, a lot to see there. With that being said, let's jump on over to some tweets of the week to kind of add on to this narrative as well. Here we go. So kind of adding on to that point as well, showing this week that this is now, I think, the 3rd week of the season where NC State has swept the ACC Gymnast of the Week awards, winning Gymnast of the Week, Specialist of the Week, and Newcomer of the Week. So Newcomer is just Freshman of the Week, and then Specialist is basically somebody who doesn't compete in all 4 events, somebody who competes in 1, 2, or 3 of the 4 events and did really well. And Kaya Edwards, who is a sophomore, got a 9.925 on floor, which, again, keep in mind the perfect score is a 10. So phenomenal. And Katie Harper got 9.95 on uneven bars. We compare that with what Ashley Knight's been doing this season with what Maddie Hall's been doing this season. A very, very impressive year for underclassmen, combined with what Emily Shepard, Chloe Negretti, and Lex Ortega is doing from the senior level. So again, a very, very special team, and the future of in-state gymnastics is very, 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 very special. So yeah. And with that being said, let's move on over. Let's talk a little bit more of women's basketball, as we now have the most wins versus AP top 25 teams this season, above teams like UCLA, South Carolina.
We're tied with UCLA, I believe.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I misread the graphic. Yeah, we're tied with UCLA, but yeah, I mean, just for me, kind of looking at it, we can kind of talk about the bracket now. So we will face the winner of Duke. Well, I guess Duke will face the winner of Georgia Tech and Pitt, which will take place tomorrow. So we'll double bye, and then we'll face the winner of that game on Friday at 5 p.m. and that game will be on the ACC network. So I mean, for me, I like the matchups. I like not having to face Virginia Tech, assuming that Kitley can find her way back, until Sunday, or even Notre Dame too. Like, I mean, I like facing Syracuse. I think that we match up well against Syracuse, and so I feel good about that. And then I think that we have a bone to pick against Duke. So I think that the bracket wise sets up really nicely. So, but Greg, what were your initial thoughts on how the bracket turned out?
Yeah, I liked getting that 2 seed, like you said, not having to face Virginia Tech, our Achilles heel team, to a championship match. We did split with Duke. We handled them pretty convincingly in Reynolds, and then we lost over there at Cameron. And then, of course, we just played Syracuse in a grinder that we had to win twice. So they're a very good team. Again, I know a top 20-ish team. So I think the bracket plays out well for us. I like the double bye, so you have to play. You can play one less game and win a championship. So when you're looking at a 4 or 5 day process, that you can keep your legs as fresh as you can. I will be interested to see how Wes runs it. You kind of hope that you get out there and get a lead and kind of can coast and rest some of your starters. But yeah, I like it. And like I don't remember who mentioned it earlier, but Wes is undefeated as the 2 seed. So I like those. Yep. I like those stat lines.
100%. Yeah. And also shout out to North as well, saying Shari got her tickets for the ACC Gymnastics Tournament in Greensboro. Love that. Yeah. So Lindsay, any other comments about the bracket before we move on to some postseason awards?
Yeah, again, it looks like that number 2 seed usually goes well for us. It is frustrating to see that with the injury, if we do win it all, it'll feel like people are saying we just did because of that, and that it wasn't real, and that we couldn't have done it otherwise. That is frustrating. I wanted to see us kind of avenge ourselves out there against Virginia Tech. But regardless, it looks like the number 2 seed is somewhere where we tend to thrive. So I'm excited to have that spot and see how that goes.
Yep, absolutely. So with that being said, now moving on to some postseason awards now. So let's see. So NC State, didn't Madison Hayes get on All ACC?
She did not. That was the disrespect. I guess the biggest
Oh, my
snub of them
God.
all. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. See, because I thought women's basketball honored her. NC State women's basketball.
So they honored her because she was a senior, though. But now we haven't announced that she is coming back. She, she announced that a few minutes before tip off on Sunday. But yeah, they were just honoring her as her senior day, since senior day was on Sunday. And
well, yeah.
River, Mimi, and Madison all were honored before the game.
You know what's funny, man? This is just me. I literally looked at so am I the only one that thinks that Isaiah James's picture, like with how her hair is, it looked like how Madison wears it? So
yeah.
So I think I literally looked at the graphic when I was working, and I just assumed that was Madison Hayes. Which, I mean, I guess maybe what the heck were you doing on your part, mistaking Madison Hayes for Isaiah James? But also I'm saying I just looked at it and said, oh, it's Madison Hayes. It's got to be Madison Hayes. First team All ACC, yeah, Madison Hayes. Like no doubt about it. But. Yeah, I mean, not to say Isaiah James doesn't deserve it, absolutely does. But I mean, yeah, Madison Hayes isn't in there. That's crazy. Or even second team.
Mimi didn't get any recognition. That was a little crazy. People were kind of losing their mind that Zoe didn't get sixth person. I don't know if they call it six man or six person or whatever they call it in women's basketball. I did look at the person who won it for Duke. I wasn't mad at that, looking at the stats and then kind of remembering what I saw from her. I think they got that right too. But I understand why State fans would be a little bitter about it.
Yeah. And Carson saying that when Madison Hayes it was announced that she was returning, that Reynolds erupted. I haven't seen any videos of that. Does nobody have any videos of that announcement? I tried to look for it because I'm sure that had been an awesome moment.
Yeah, I just I wasn't. I think I was at baseball on Sunday, so I wasn't there to see it. But I think I got a text like a few minutes after it was announced. I was like, "Oh, that's pleasantly surprising." Now, I had heard that she probably wanted to come back, but she's already been here. She transferred in from Mississippi State, and sometimes these young folks want to go experience something else. So, kind of like how we lost Jaquil Brown Turner. She went back home to Maryland. So I it doesn't surprise me, but it was a nice refreshing piece of news to see that she wanted to come back for a fifth year at State.
Yeah, that was.
But, I mean, huge shout out to Sanaya Rivers, though, Isaiah James getting first team All ACC, and Sanaya getting defensive team, All ACC defensive team, and then Zoe Brooks getting all freshman team. What's your wow, Greg?
I just pulled up some of the honors. How Isaiah James didn't get ACC Most Improved is beyond me. This is Isaiah barely, only time she really started last year was in injury, forced in the starting lineup during injury, and she didn't really flash until towards the end of the year. The one game that I remember she really started to flash was the Carolina game at home at Reynolds. For her to not get ACC Most Improved, I would have to see what Latua King from Pitt got. I don't know her stats from last year this year, but I definitely want to look that up after we get offline. And I kind of got a problem. Like Sanaya did make all defensive team, but her vote number seems a little low to me. I don't know. What gets me is ACC Coach of the Year. I'm not mad that the Syracuse coach Leggett, but Jack won it. They were finished to pick. So they were picked to finish ninth. State and West were picked to finish eighth, but Kenny Brooks, like it wasn't even, the voting wasn't even close. So for me, and I think this is just the byproduct of how successful State has been. I think they just expect us to be there, even though this year we were picked to finish eighth in the league and we ended up finishing second. So again, I think there's a little biasness there, but I don't know.
Yeah. Lindsay, any thoughts?
Wasn't Virginia Tech picked to win the league this year? I would assume.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no doubt. Elizabeth Kidley's a part of the team, right? Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there were definitely some, snubs here. I think there were definitely more players that should have been named to at least second team all ACC. But regardless, it's always exciting to see, some of your players recognized, especially Zoe Brooks on all ACC freshman team. I thought was very well deserved. It's always nice to see a young player kind of getting recognized for their improvement and for what they've done. And, kind of think about how they could possibly contribute moving forward. But I was kind of surprised to not see state more represented in some of these categories, like Greg was saying.
Some of this, like Deja Kelly getting more votes on all first team than Sanaya is ludicrous. Hell, Isaiah James got more votes than Sanaya Rivers for first team. And as much as I love Isaiah, how does she get more votes than Sanaya? I don't get it. And again, I'm glad both made it, but I where I'm going with that is like I'm questioning the voters here. Like, what are you seeing that Anyway, I'm done. This is ridiculous.
I love it. Keep going on that box, man. No, hey, it's good stuff. It reminds me of kind of
really grinds my gears.
ACC
really
media voters.
AC media voters. Exactly. No, I'm not. I wasn't
Bonus
surprised whatsoever. And rightfully so for the Syracuse coach to win it. I mean,
absolutely,
year one and coming out like super hot. So yeah, but I do agree. Yes, Westmore, more of maybe a little bit of more respect in the coach of the year voting. Just like you said, going from eighth.
These are the same voters that picked us seventh. So like you can't have your cake and eat it too. Like. Right. Like if you screwed up, now you make up for it on the back end when you hit it for me one more time.
Yeah. Gotta go back. I wasn't ready for it.
Really grinds my gears.
All right.
Yeah. All right. You had your fun there, Greg. But yeah, no. Again, it's at the end of the day, we still have a great opportunity right here to go make some noise. I think NC State sets up well. We're sitting at number 10 in the country. Probably, if you can go and win at least, I would say at least one game, you're probably looking at least a 3 seed in the NCAA
you're locked in it. I see what you're saying. Yeah, if you win one, you're definitely going to be a 2. If you win the whole thing, I don't think you're going to move up to a 1 unless some other teams just really crap the bed in their tournaments. And here's the other thing. These people that do the seedings, they don't put a lot of stock in the postseason tournaments, their conference tournaments. They pretty much lock you in unless there's like a 1 and 1A and they're trying to figure out, and sometimes that'll be the tiebreaker. But most of the time, like you're going to be locked in before heading into the tournament.
Yeah, agreed. So with that being said, let's jump on over to a couple more tweets of the week as well. So I got to give a huge shout out first and foremost to softball, man, for absolutely shocking the world and winning game 1 versus number 9 Clemson in Death Valley. And again, the 6-1 win out of the gate. And obviously, unfortunately, they weren't able in games 2 or 3 to get that second win, to get the series win. But I mean, I first of all say that, I mean, basically once I had said going into this weekend that if you could win one of the games, then you're pretty happy. With year 1 of Coach Leftwich, first ACC series of the year
on the road
to Clemson, top 10 team in the country. Like that's a tough match. So to get one, especially getting the first one and really putting Clemson on their heels was awesome. But also, I mean, that third game, I mean, we came out up 3 or 4 5 nothing out of the first inning. So
and then up 9-8, I think at 1.2.
Yep. So, I mean, Coach Leftwich had this team ready, and I think they easily showed that they can compete with anybody in the country, which, year 1 of a head coach, I think that's by far the most you can ask for. So,
softball won their first ACC game of the year, but that was also their 13th straight win. They had beat ECU 11-2 earlier this past week for their 12th straight win. So beating Clemson was 13 in a row. And we talked, when they had won like 6 or 7 in a row, that you can't expect to, win 20 in a row or whatever. But honestly, even getting to that 13, I think at the time I said you can't expect to win like 14 in a row or something. Right. And, I guess you can't. 13 in a row is insane. And even just getting one of these games was so impressive because it was at Clemson. So I'm really happy with how this team has turned around from last season.
Yeah, the one thing that was really nice was, I think we beat ECU 11-2. Going into that game, ECU was top 5 in the country in earned run average. They were giving up less than a run a game, and so to go, knock the snot out of them, that was impressive in and of itself. And then you take, going down to Death Valley, and you're winning that first game, like you said, Leighton. I think in year one, what Coach Leftwich probably would say is she's just trying to instill some confidence in her players. Playing the mental game. They've definitely obviously got the physical tools that can go and compete. Now it's just building that confidence and, encouraging your players that, hey, you just took the number, what is Clemson, like 7 or 8, I think, in the country?
8 or 9, depending on
it's 8 or 9. Yeah, I know there's multiple polls. But just instilling that like confidence. And I think that will only just pay dividends as this team gets more mature. And by mature, I mean just, going through their college careers. So, the future's bright for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and for those who are curious too, we, at Tuffy Talk are really, dead set on, especially with softball being a program that, if we can invest just a little bit towards this program, that we can really, build on what Coach Leftwich is doing to help take this program to that elite level that I think all of us can easily see. And then with this program, so make sure to stay tuned, y'all, as we will have some pretty major announcements here coming out here later this week here into the weekend.
Yeah, I think we'll talk offline, but I got something I want to do and see if we can match. I got a dollar number that I think I'm going to throw to the program and see if we can get some matches going.
Cool. Sounds good. So with that being said, Wolfpack Nation as well, I want to bring up our next tweet of the week here from Mr. Northam talking about Madison Hayes, who is the only player from a major conference this season averaging at least 11 points and 7 rebounds per game, while also shooting better than 40% from three-point land. So incredibly important to what women's basketball has accomplished this season. Madison Hayes and who was it up here? If any, Carson saying if anybody embodies Wolfpack Nation on the women's basketball team, it's Madison.
Yeah.
So again,
she does everything.
I've sung her praises all the time, and I'll continue to do it. I mean, that girl is simply a bulldog. She is willing to do whatever.
Well, used to be a bulldog.
Yeah, but now she plays like one in an NC State Wolfpack uniform.
There you go.
I mean, whether it's scoring, whether it's shooting a three, whether it's getting a rebound, playing hard defense. Yeah, I mean, she's willing to do it all. So love me some Madison Hayes and love what she's doing.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that doesn't go, like, that's not even mentioned in this stat is, like, she's usually your number one defender, playing usually the other team's best player. So that doesn't go unnoticed. Like, if she, and again, this is no disrespect to James or Rivers, if she had the luxury of playing that position, she would be putting up the same kind of numbers that both of those players do. But because she works so hard on both ends of the court, because she's asked to do a lot for this team, her numbers sometimes won't reflect. The one thing I wish that she would do is shoot the dang three more. I mean, you saw where she shoots plus 40% from the 3-point land, and I think sometimes she's just too unselfish, if that's a thing, or too selfish towards her team. Yeah, too selfish to her players. Her teammates.
Yeah,
I think she's an awesome player. I'm glad. That news. I think that news for next year, that huge. Her coming back. I think it's going to be one of those. When we look at next year's team, that's something that we're going to be looking back on. It was like that announcement before the Wake Forest game.
For sure.
Oh, easily. I mean, again, I mean, just for Coach Moore, I'm saying, hey, you go into the portal, get us a couple of forwards, to replace center, to replace Mimi and River Baldwin, and between Sanaya, Zaya, Madison, Zoe, Lacey, you name it. Like, yeah, we're pretty stacked for next year. It's gonna be awesome. But
I think Cox and Collier will definitely take steps for next year. But you definitely need some depth pieces or people that will compete for starting jobs. And look, you have a nice deep run in the NCAA tournament, and people want to come play with like, hey, like I have a chance to compete, not only for an ACC title, but an NCAA title. And I think, winning attracts those types of players.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Yeah, if we can get back on the top box, that'd be huge for this year. But yeah, no, and I love Nick's comment right here saying Madison Hayes might be the most underrated player in all of NC State athletics, and I would say Tori Inslee with softball might have a case to say there. I mean, she's been just ridiculous, having defensive highlights all over the place in the book for softball. But
Is that the one that got
yeah,
the Sports Center top 10 that made the catch?
Yeah. So, and she had another one against Clemson as well. Like, just unbelievable what she's doing out there. So, yeah. But yeah, no, agreed though. Madison Hayes, love that girl. She's awesome, and so excited to have her in state uniform for one more year. But again, we still got in the middle of March Madness, baby. Let's keep it going.
That's right.
But anyway, y'all, want to give a shout out though to our seniors, DJ Horn, Alex Nunnally, DJ Burns, and Casey Morcell. Obviously sad that we couldn't send those guys out with the win in PNC in the last game in PNC Arena, but just want to take an extra second to give a shout out to our seniors, man, and specifically Casey, man. My heart really goes out to Casey, bud, because yeah, I think somebody said earlier that Casey is definitely one of the biggest disappointments this year, and I'd 1,000% agree with that, man. Just huge.
Yeah, I would say offensively, he didn't give you the output that you wanted, but I mean, he's another lockdown defender.
Yep.
He's just struggled from shooting. I mean, it was just, I don't know, just one of those things. But I've gotten to know Casey a little bit and his family, and then DJ Burns, and then Alex Nunley's family. Just great people, great families, and definitely going to miss their friendships that I've kind of built over the last couple of years. I never really got to talk to DJ Horns. I see his dad's around a lot, but just look, good dudes, man. It sucks that we couldn't win more ball games for them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. And again, I mean, keep in mind that I mean, by me saying that Mochelle's a disappointment, it's not really more of me pointing at him. It's just that, just unfortunately, because of the system, because of a variety of things, just he unfortunately wasn't able to hit the levels which I knew he had for himself and we had for him. We really were expecting this to be a breakout year for him. But it just never, unfortunately, it didn't work out the entire season. Like he never really had it ever this entire season. So unfortunately, but. Anyway, though, so that's enough men's basketball there. But the other big piece of news for the Pac Pros is Russell Wilson. Actually, we need to talk about Peyton Wilson too. Totally forgot to bring that up too. But Russell Wilson being released by the Denver Broncos, and we'll just want to spend
future Buccaneer question mark.
You think so? Future Buccaneer? You think so?
Could be. I mean, if Baker doesn't re-sign with the Bucs, he's being courted a lot. Russell's probably going to come in on the cheap, give him a 1 year, maybe 2 year deal. Like, where else would you see him fitting in?
That's what I was trying to think of. I genuinely don't have a place in mind for him. But did y'all see this is like the biggest, lost money off of a broken contract in like NFL history? The Broncos are losing like $84 million to releasing Russell Wilson.
And you think about it, the cap's only I think it's 323 this year, so it's almost a third of the salary cap.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. Do you have any idea of where he could go, either of you, other than Bucks? Like, I really could not think of somewhere that. Okay, Minnesota, Las Vegas.
Yep, I had even said the
Panthers. God, the Panthers are so bad.
I don't know if Russell's ready to take a backup deal yet.
Yeah.
Well. No. But so I would say the two that come to mind for me, the one that's actually been, and they both have been mentioned, is Atlanta and the Steelers. Okay. So Atlanta makes sense just because they have a lot of young weapons and are one decent quarterback away from being competitive in a very weak division. And then the Steelers wise. Kind of same thing. You have a really great, defense led by a really great head coach, and, weapons on the offense between Najee, Deontay, George Pickens, Pat Freiermuth. I mean, you could be productive and you can win games there. So, but yeah, Nick saying the Steelers aren't interested. And I also say too, because I think that they might be a little bit worried of the experiment of Kenny Pickett. Like, is he going to pan out to what we thought he might be with the first round pick?
I still stick with the Bucs if Mayfield doesn't re-sign. Now they just re-signed Evans and looks like they're gonna re-sign Antoine Winfield Jr. So there's some dollars being taken up there. Baker's gonna want some money. He took another team to the playoffs, and I don't know. I just don't know where. I like the Las Vegas. Who did they have last year? Who was their quarterback?
Well, it was
Garoppolo, kind of, not
Garoppolo, yeah, Garoppolo. Then they pulled him and put in the backup. I don't even know what his name is. It wasn't anybody worth a darn.
Yeah.
So
I could maybe see him there, but again, I don't think Wilson is taking a backup deal yet, especially not for the Panthers. I think they're kind of below him, at least now.
I mean, he's got familiar with that division, so I can potentially see that. I don't know. And then here's the other thing too: is teams aren't going to rush out to sign him. Like they probably won't pick him up until after the draft and see what teams are able to draft. So I honestly would be surprised if he gets picked up before the draft at this point, just because I think teams are going to want to see how they're able to draft, and then depending on how they draft, they may bring him in to compete, not necessarily give him the job. So it'll be interesting and kind of fun to watch what happens in the next probably 30 to 45 days.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see where he ends up.
Yeah, 100%. But lastly, too, though, I know I keep jumping back to men's basketball, but Razor kind of added one more men's basketball comment, which I really love, which is how he said Marcel finally decided during the season that my outside shots wasn't falling, so he went inside, which was nice to see, and that's one thing I give my hats off to, again, him as a person, him as a teammate, that he decided to not be me and say I'm just going to keep shooting threes until I work my way out of this. He just said, you know what, it's not going. Maybe I need to put this experiment on hold and let me go and, go to DJ Horn, go inside, go to the rim and make something happen. So again, just love Casey Marcel. Love that guy. But got to give a shout out to Peyton Wilson, man. That dude is lighting fires in the NFL Combine, man. And love what we're seeing from him. Again, a 4.43, I think it was the official time for his 40, which is the fastest time for any linebacker so far in the NFL Combine, which is awesome to see. And I even saw one projection that had him going 17th overall to the Raiders. I mean, I know the Raiders love speed, but damn. I mean, hey, he'd be a perfect guy for the Raiders, man. He would be Raiders through and through. It would be awesome. So, I mean, he's definitely making his case for the top linebacker prospect, and I think it's pretty much himself and him right now, in my opinion, as the top linebacker prospect. So, we'll see.
I wanted to, I meant to send this in for a tweet of the week and I didn't. Did you guys see how, what's his name? The center, McMahon.
Yeah. Dylan
McMahon, how he scored, in his numbers.
He did well.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Nick said Dylan McMahon has spectacular combine as well. Yeah. I mean, now keeping in mind, obviously spectacular for McMahon is a little different than spectacular for Peyton, McMahon's, hopefully
he
trying to contract it, but
5 in the last 40 years, his numbers, it was his. I wish I could find it real quick. Give me a second. Let me see if I can.
No, you're good. But yeah, I mean, just kind of build on it though. It's just, it's awesome to see. And I honestly loved it. Who's the guy that always does the 40 out of a joke? The ESPN commentator guy.
Yeah, it's
Rosen.
No. It's he has his own
Rich
podcast.
Eisen.
Rich Eisen.
Yeah. They actually did Rich's 40 compared to Peyton Wilson's 40, and that was pretty funny to see. So love that.
Yeah.
Nick saying McMahon had a top 10 40 time for a center ever.
Yeah. So I want to read this tweet real quick, and it's by Kent Lee Plate. Dylan McMahon is an OC prospect in the 2024 draft class. He scored an unofficial 9.43, which is in the RAS. It's their analytic. It's the relative athletic score. So he scored a 9.43 out of a possible 10. This ranked 34th out of 580 OCs from 1987 to 2024.
Wow.
So
that's pretty good.
And the only thing he didn't score well on was his weight. and his
Sure.
20-yard split. And
Okay.
and so he scored low on his weight, which is only 299. That was like his worst score, which was a 4.45. His height, which was a 6.37, which is considered okay. And then his 20-yard split was okay. Everything else was elite. His vertical, his broad, his 40, and his 10-yard were all in the top, 0.8 percentile. So crushed it.
Good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. Yeah, so huge shout out to Dylan McMahon, Pay Wilson, keep those things going, y'all. And also, too, got to give a shout out as well. We'll be doing our AC Wrestling Tournament preview here right after this. But make sure you're getting y'all the AC Wrestling Tournament. It's basically an all-day thing on Sunday. It starts at 11 a.m. on Sunday, and the finals start at 7 p.m. So you can pay $10 for an all-day pass and basically get almost 10 hours of wrestling action. So make sure again, y'all,
Good
go get
value.
your tickets. Yeah, no, I mean you're basically almost getting $1 per hour of wrestling action. So
and
it's
lots
pretty
of
good
it.
for your buck. Yeah, lots of it, exactly. So again, y'all make sure to go and let's light the place red, man. Let's make it happen. Let's go on for hopefully our 6th straight conference tournament title, y'all. So looking forward to that, y'all. But with that being said, Wolfpack Nation, I think we'll wrap it up there, and so that way we can jump on over, y'all, to our baseball season conversation, and also to our wrestling preview. Lindsay, any final commentary before we wrap this up?
Nope, I don't think so. Just go check out wrestling this weekend. Again, it's worth your money. The potential for a 6th straight conference championship, very exciting. And just go Pack.
And the last thing which I'll add is we're only 3 subscribers away, y'all, from 9,000 subscribers, y'all. So please do us a big favor. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button right now. Hit that notification bell so you're notified whenever we release any new in-state content to help us hit that 9,000 subscriber mark. And make sure to give us a follow at Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, y'all. And if you enjoyed this conversation, do us a big favor. Hit that like button. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever you're listening to this, please do us a big favor and leave us that 5-star review, and we would greatly appreciate that as well. But you guys are all amazing. We appreciate the support. Positive days are ahead for NC State fans, and we'll see y'all soon. And go Pack, y'all.